Hello, everyone, and welcome to ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. I'm Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central. Hope you're having a great Monday night. I've been thinking all day long that it is Tuesday, but no, it is Monday night. So thank you for being here. Hope you're having a great night. Hope you're enjoying the Seahawks versus the Washington football team game, which has not been as fun as some of us would have maybe thought about. Thank you, all of you who are joining the show. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you share the show. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, please let your friends know that you're watching ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. We have a packed show tonight because Mike McCarthy is out for the Saints game. So that's bad news for the Cowboys. They're going to have to go with an interim head coach on Thursday night versus the Saints. It is going to be Dan Quinn. We'll talk about the details on tonight's show, and we will also talk about the one true concern that this raises, at least in my opinion. Thank you guys for being here. What is up? Tom Downey's burner account over at YouTube with his daily Micah Parsons brain, also watching from Facebook. Shout out to the Facebook audience. Peter, hello, Cowboys Nation. Kenneth as well. Okay, says Charles Moore. I have a problem with the head coach. It was a tough decision. We'll get into it. Let's start the show officially. Make sure you hit the like button, and let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. I'm Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On-Demand Sports Talk Network, with a lot more content coming your way throughout the entire 2021 Cowboys season. Make sure you check out adcsports.com/Dallas for your favorite Cowboys content and, of course, for your favorite Mavericks content as well. I don't know if we have any basketball fans here, by the way, but if you do, if you are into basketball and into basketball beyond the NBA, FIBA is having a world classification tournament here in my hometown. Actually, right now, Mexico is playing the United States. So go Mexico. As you guys know, I'm from Mexico. Shout out to all of you guys. Thank you for being here on the show. What is up, Stevie Mac? Reminding people to hit the like button and, of course, share the show. Let's get the conversation going because big news for the Dallas Cowboys. As Dallas Junk is pointing out on YouTube, he says, what is up with all the bad news for the Cowboys today? Shake my head. And I understand where Dallas Junk is coming from. That has been a frustrating, sequence of news for the Dallas Cowboys. There are some positive news, and we'll talk about them later on the show, especially discussing the defensive line. But yeah, the first question, the opening question for tonight's show is a fairly simple one. From 1 to 10, what is your level of concern regarding Mike McCarthy's absence? Because at some point, there's got to be a level of confusion to all of us because we don't really know what Mike McCarthy's responsibilities are on game day. We know he calls the timeouts and we know he makes the decisions, but we always wonder when you have two coordinators that call the plays, people will always wonder what exactly does Mike McCarthy do? As I said, we have an idea, and this is not to say that he is not important, but it's what I mean is I really do question that sometimes. I really do wonder, what is it exactly? And Mike McCarthy talked briefly about it on a press conference today, and even he mentioned that it's just little things, like even meeting with the referees before the game. That is an extra to-do thing for Dan Quinn when game day arrives. So I will say that my level of concern is a 7, and I will tell you exactly why. I'm seeing a lot of different answers. God Bumper goes with 5. Burner account goes with 7. Asmodeus says none, 0, nada. Stevie Mack goes with 6. Charles Moore with a high 10. I will say, and Jessica says 6. And of course, as Glenn is saying, hope he gets better. That is, of course, the number one thing when discussing Mike McCarthy's health. That is, of course. However, talking about strictly football, I wanted to tell you why my level of concern is a 7. I'm not really concerned about the management of the game. Of course, it is an extra concern for Dan Quinn. I think he can handle it. But and I think that I lost the video there. I'm back. I'm sorry. I am more concerned about Dan Quinn moving from the coach's booth to the sidelines and just altering that process that has worked so well for the Cowboys defense so far than I am about anything else. So not really about the coaching aspects of calling the timeouts, making the decisions on 4th down. I'm concerned about that, but I think that Dan Quinn can get it done. But I do hope that the defense does not end up being affected by Dan Quinn moving to the sidelines, because this was a decision by the Cowboys defensive coordinator at the beginning of the year because he felt that gave him a better process when calling the defense. And he even mentioned, like, you get rid of this feelings when being with the players on the sidelines. Of course, everything has its pros and cons, and there are some pros to being on the sideline, but that Dan Quinn shows this process. And of course, it is the right decision, maybe because of head coaching experience for Dan Quinn, but it's definitely a decision that will alter the Cowboys' operation when it comes to game day. And usually a lot of NFL teams, and I'm not saying that I disagree with the decision, I'm just saying this is my concern, but a lot of NFL teams, when they have a situation like this, or more than anything, when they fire a coach mid-season, because the COVID-19 thing is relatively new, but when we have seen head coaches be unavailable for one reason or another, we frequently see special teams coordinators step up as head coaches. Just look at the Raiders and Rich Bisaccia. John Fassel was in a similar situation in 2016 when he was elevated to interim head coach for the Rams. And that is because that way you do not change the way the coordinators operate and the way the offense is called and the way the defense is called. But the Cowboys decided to, trust in Dan Quinn with the most head coaching experience and go with it. There were some concerns. There were some reports saying that Rob Davis was going to be the guy to coordinate the staff. I don't think that was going to be the case ever. I think there was a mistake there just because he's listed as the assistant head coach. But Rob Davis' role with the Dallas Cowboys is not really about the X's and O's of things or about football strategy. He himself described his role with the Cowboys in 2020 when he joined Mike McCarthy's staff as more of a life coach. And he talked about the mental process with players and just helping them go through the entire process of being in the NFL. That's what Rob Davis' apparent role is with the Dallas Cowboys, more than just your regular football coach. So I was quick to dismiss Rob Davis' potential as the interim head coach pretty quickly because that is not his role, or at least that is not what we understood about his role. So it's not going to be him. Now we know that, but this morning there were a lot of people, including Tom Pelissero, throwing that name out, and it felt a little bit odd. We all kind of knew that it was going to come down, in my opinion, between Dan Quinn and John Fassel. I never thought that Kellen Moore had a shot at being the interim head coach. I know that Kellen Moore is a head coach candidate for a lot of teams, and he might be in that conversation once the offseason comes around. But I don't think that would be a smart call for the Cowboys to make him the interim head coach when you have guys with experience like Dan Quinn and John Fassel. I was expecting Fassel to be the guy to step up, but it's going to be Dan Quinn. Dallas Young says, imagine Bones as a head coach. That would be wild. It would. but at least like the pro of making John Fassel the interim head coach would be that the coordinators just, worry about their offense, their defense, and you forget about a big impact on the game day operation for the team. Hopefully, the Cowboys are prepared for this. It does seem like they are. And if you remember back in the preseason, we talked about this briefly last week. In the preseason, the Cowboys were getting ready to not have Dan Quinn. They missed Dan Quinn for one game. And then after that happened, the Cowboys also ran like a little bit of a, simulation without Kellen Moore calling the plays. So maybe the Cowboys have paid attention to this, and hopefully it does not end up being as big of an issue. I am concerned, though. I will tell you that. And someone mentioned that the Saints, that this might feel like a trap game or something like that. I think that more than a trap game is just the uncertainty that we have around the 2021 Dallas Cowboys. And they're facing a hungry team that has not won a game in 5. They've lost their past 4 games. They're making a change at quarterback. We'll talk about that later on the show. But yeah, I also have confidence in Dan Quinn, though, as Kenneth Fraser is saying on Facebook. Tom down his burner account says Sean Payton loves to stick it to Dallas since they chose Garrett over him. I would rather, says Steve, have Dan Quinn as a head coach than the one we got. I wouldn't go that far. But yeah, at least we know that Dan Quinn has the experience. Charlene Evans was asking about Rob Davis. What I was saying was that, I don't really think that Rob Davis is that kind of a coach. He's more than anything like a life coach. And these are even his words. And I actually Oh, we might be back. We might be back, guys. I'm sorry about that. It really sucks. I'm using my cellular data now. I'm using the personal hotspot. Let's see if that works. It apparently is working. I don't know if it's the weather or what, but yeah. I'm I'm imagining Mo singing Oprah. Why though? The show got COVID. Listen, these are just bad news everywhere. All right, I'm back. I appreciate you. I appreciate each and every one of you guys that stuck with Primetime through this difficult time. But yeah, we're back. I am sorry about it all. It's good now. Charles Moore says restart. All right, we're back. Thank you guys for sticking with me, and thank you for waiting and being patient, because man, this is so frustrating. Rarely do I get these internet issues, but when I do, like, they are bad for some reason. And when I do, I always get back with the Wi-Fi. But yeah, we will use the personal hotspot for tonight and just go from there. All right, so I will go back and rewind a little bit what we were talking about and just continue talking about Dan Quinn. My one concern was him moving from the coaches booth to the sidelines and it disrupting the Cowboys protocol and the Cowboys operation during game day. That would be my biggest concern when talking about Mike McCarthy's absence. I would have expected the Cowboys to go with John Fassel before we actually heard about them going with Dan Quinn. That was the point that I wanted to get across. And someone asked about Rob Davis, and we were talking about him when the show froze completely. Rob Davis is apparently not the football coach that many people would expect him to be. He himself, and this is what he said to the Dallas Cowboys website back in 2020 when he joined Mike McCarthy's staff, even though he carries the assistant head coach designation for his job title, he spoke about his role and he talked about him being more of a life coach for players and for the team. And he even said, like, I might get involved a little bit and have some input in the X's and O's, but I'm not going to play a major role when it comes to X's and O's. So Rob Davis being thrown out there as a candidate to be the Cowboys interim head coach, I think had more to do with the fact that he is called the assistant head coach more than an actual possibility for the Dallas Cowboys. So definitely not expecting Rob Davis to step up as the Cowboys, as a big part of the Cowboys operation on game day. Now we know it is Dan Quinn, of course, the interim head coach. That should go well for the Cowboys. He has the experience, at least in terms of calling the timeouts, making the decisions. I am not that concerned about Dan Quinn taking over. I'm just concerned that it might affect the Cowboys' performance on defense. Because this change was refreshing for Dan Quinn. Moving to the coach's booth was refreshing. And he talked about it in the preseason. He said that the decision for him was more about, eliminating the feelings aspect of his job and not getting that involved with the players on the sideline and maybe being distracted from the play calls that he wants to get out there. So some people will like it. Some people will not like coaches that work from the booth. But it was working for Dan Quinn. Hopefully that does not mess with the mojo of the defense. Does that mean Joe Witt is going to be in the booth? Says Tom down his burner account. That is a good question. I don't know if the Cowboys have said anything about that. I would expect Joe Witt to be in the booth. I would expect the Cowboys defense to run maybe the same way that they would run in a normal game day, just with Dan Quinn on the sidelines. Because Mike McCarthy did say that communication between the coaches would be key. So I would imagine that Joe Witt and company will be up there on the booth trying to keep things as normal as possible for Dan Quinn to, figure out things and call the plays from the sidelines. Asmodeo says the status quo hasn't changed for 2 weeks, so a change is welcome. I appreciate the optimism. I am a little bit concerned, though. I got to be honest with you. I'm a little bit concerned about the change. We need Dan Quinn to hype up the squad on Thursday, says Dallas Young. Joshua Davis over at Facebook says, I am hoping not to get all the damn flags from the Zebras, and that would be a nice change as well for Thursday night's game. Hopefully that ends up being the case. And this is a hungry team. the one that the Cowboys are facing. Now, burner account says, put a laptop on a chair with Big Mike on Zoom and let him coach. Now, even though that would be nice, remember that the NFL will not allow anything similar. So for those of you who don't know, the NFL will not allow even phone calls or any technology for coaches that are outside of the stadium to be involved at all with the team on game day. I think that Mike McCarthy can address the team Thursday morning, but he will have zero involvement because he cannot have any kind of involvement with the team when game time comes. So we shouldn't expect anything like that. I know burner account was probably just joking, but I'm for those of you who don't know, because a lot of people were asking themselves what was going to happen when certain coaches were not around for other NFL teams. And remember, the Saints actually went through a very similar problem earlier in the season. They had 7 coaches out of their game versus the Panthers, and they were beaten 26-7. Sean Payton was there. The coordinators, if I'm not mistaken, were there. But this time the Cowboys are trying to get by without their head coach. They're not the first team in the NFL to be in a similar position, and teams without their head coaches have actually won games. So this is not an excuse for the Dallas Cowboys, definitely. Heck, the Browns beat the Steelers in the playoffs last year without Kevin Stefanski. So hopefully this does not become a major issue for the Cowboys. Richard says, Quinn has coached before. Let's hope his clock management is better than McCarthy's. Hey, if we're talking about some optimism or some, glass half full, view, this might be it. Richard is right. The Cowboys might get an upgrade when it comes to clock management, at least. City back right on what about Cooper, says Joshua Davis. Amari Cooper apparently back with the team, but he is not practicing. I would expect him to come back, though. I am not concerned about Amari Cooper coming back to the Dallas Cowboys without practicing and being active on game day. I'm not concerned about him not getting any practice time in because he has been dealing with injuries and he has been limited throughout most of the season. So I kind of trust him to get it done. And the Cowboys' COVID cases are definitely a concern right now because they are with along the Titans. This is the ADC Sports jinx, by the way. The Cowboys and the Titans are leading the NFL in COVID cases. Right now, 33 players for the Titans have landed on IR and 15 on COVID IR. No, 33 players on IR and 15 of them on COVID, including IR as well. Now, the Cowboys are the only team that has had more players land on COVID/IR, and this is according to Sharp Football Analysis. So how about that stat for the Dallas Cowboys? And I think that we have not complained a lot about all of the injuries because the Cowboys have been able to adjust to them. But how about that stat? We're calling it the ADC Sports jinx because, of course, you know that ADC Sports is also in Nashville. But how about that? Cowboys are the only team that has had more players land on COVID/IR, according to Sharp Football Analysis. And, of course, the Cowboys are getting held back. And by the way, this was assuming Amari Cooper comes back. Assuming Amari Cooper comes back, because I think it is fair to assume so. I would be surprised if he isn't ready for game day. My question would be, whose return has you the most excited? Is it Amari Cooper's return to the Cowboys offense, the true number one wide receiver of this offense that really, really draws coverage and opens up the game for a lot of other Cowboys receivers? Or are you more excited about seeing Demarcus Lawrence back on the team? And I think D-Law would be my answer because we have not seen number 90 since week 1. That is crazy. We have not seen Demarcus Lawrence basically for the entire 2021 season. And he is coming back for the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday. It is not official. It is expected to be the case, though. And D-Law has been practicing with the team for a while now. D-Law should be back versus the Saints. I would say that he has me the most excited because I'm excited about the pass rush getting that boost. And I'm excited about finding out what Dan Quinn's approach will be if he wants to keep Micah Parsons as a pass rusher. And maybe he does not keep him as a pass rusher 100% of the snaps, but Micah is going to keep rushing the passer because he has been insanely productive doing so. So pulling him out of that responsibility and playing him exclusively on the inside would be dumb, and I don't expect Dan Quinn to do that. So I'm excited to see if Dan Quinn, who has not been afraid of moving pieces around for this defense, I am excited to see if we will see Demarcus Lawrence play against left tackles more frequently than before, now that the Cowboys want to give Micah Parsons a chance as well. And I think that Parsons playing against right tackles is so cool and so helpful for this defense that I would imagine that D-Law is going to get some playing time versus left tackles. Because before that, he played almost exclusively in recent years over at as the Cowboys left end versus right tackles. D-Law is not a good pass rusher, says Asmodeus. I really think he is. I really do think he is. I know that the sacks have not been there, but when we take a look at quarterback hits, pressure rates, and all of that, D-Law is still a great pass rusher, in my opinion. Maybe he's not up there with TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, and things like that, and players like that, but I do think that, D-Law is still has the potential to be the leader of the Cowboys defense. Even with Micah Parsons playing the way that he is, and the same for Randy Gregory, I think that D-Law is still the guy for the Cowboys on defense. And it will open up so much for the Cowboys defense as well. D-Law is a guy that draws a lot of double teams as well, by the way. So I think that Micah Parsons, Ozo Odighizuwa, Neville Gallimore, who might be back soon, not versus the Saints, but Neville Gallimore's practice window has also been activated. So the Cowboys might be getting Gallimore back on December the 12th versus Washington on Sunday when the Cowboys played him on week 14. I cannot believe that we are already at week 13. This season has gone by so quickly. D-Law is not we had read that. Tom Downey's burner account says D-Law is a very good pass rusher. I agree with that. And not to mention that he also brings a lot of help in run support for the Cowboys defense. He's a great run defender, and the Cowboys need a better run defense. I think there is no question about that. Alfonso says, y'all tripping. D-Law still causes havoc even though he doesn't have the sacks. And that is something that I strongly agree with. And if we take a look at splash plays, we also see Demarcus Lawrence being a disruptor for the Cowboys defense. The sacks have not been there, though, and that has caused some frustration among some members of Cowboys Nation. But D-Law is still a great player for the Cowboys defense. Trey Brooks says, serious question, how old are you? Like 10. Even though that might seem like a serious question, I have my doubts, but my serious answer is 22 years old. I always gladly answer that question because I know that I do look younger than 22. He has a high win and pressure rate, says Tom Down his burner account, and that is right. Getting Lawrence back is huge for the Cowboys defense. And even more so this week because, hey, the Cowboys are not playing the quarterback that we thought they were going to face a few weeks ago. The Cowboys are actually playing Taysom Hill. And that is actually low-key exciting. I find it exciting. I want the Cowboys, of course, as always, to win the game. But, it's not exciting to watch Trevor Siemian play. And I'm not afraid about Taysom Hill. I'm just excited about a weird game, with Taysom Hill there. I've always thought that Sean Payton is wrong regarding his thoughts on Taysom Hill. I've always found it a little bit funny that he insists on playing Hill at quarterback. And they reached this weird deal recently that is a hybrid contract that pays him basically $10 million per year. When it pays him $10 million per year if he sticks to the role that he has played so far for the Saints, which is the jack of all trades, right? But it has all kinds of incentives to make it a big-time contract for Taysom Hill. And in case you guys have not read any of these contract details, here are some of them for you. He earns $150,000 for 3,250 passing yards. He earns a similar number for a passer rating of 90 or higher, for 25 passing touchdowns, for 65 or better completion percentage, 600 rushing yards, 250,000 for being the league MVP. So he gets a lot of these weird numbers for the Saints. But right now, we have not seen Taysom Hill develop into a starting quarterback. And I don't think he is that. Sean Payton might take a victory lap if he ends up being an actual starting quarterback. But I don't see it. I truly don't see it for the Saints. Keep in mind that Taysom Hill, even though we have not seen plenty of him as an NFL quarterback, he's not that young. He's over 30. So it's not like he has this huge room for development as a young quarterback. So it's been weird. I think it is funny that we will see him versus the Cowboys. Not more than funny, just plain fun. I think it might bring a more interesting element to Thursday night's game. And the Saints are struggling along the offensive line. Teron Armstead, Ryan Ramczyk might both be available for Thursday night, but they have both been dealing with stuff. Ramczyk was out of last week's game versus the Bills. They have had some issues at center. Eric McCoy's back, but he has been dealing with some injuries. They have had some changes at guard throughout the entire season. So the Cowboys might find a way into really bringing the pressure against a Taysom Hill that is going to be in a big spot. He signed his deal, and he now has the chance to seize the opportunity and actually become the Saints starting quarterback. Because the offense with Trevor Siemian is non-operational for the Saints. So the Saints had to make a change. And I think that New Orleans fans are actually quite happy about the news that they will get to see Taysom Hill in at quarterback. He was dealing with an injury. That is the reason why we have not seen this change before. But it seems like Taysom Hill is ready to go. And it also sounds like Alvin Kamara is coming back for the Saints, which makes it even more interesting because you would like to see Micah Parsons rushing Taysom Hill. But Parsons matches up well against running backs like Kamara. And we saw that versus the Vikings when he matched up versus Dalvin Cook. Maybe we see something similar this time around when he faces none other than Kamara. Load the box and bump and run with their wide receivers is Dallas Junk. By the way, their wide receivers have not stepped up, any of them. Another challenge that the Cowboys will have on Thursday night will be keeping all of them from stepping up out of nowhere. Stevie Mack says, Seattle is messed up right now when they're having problems beating the Washington Washes. And hey, this Seattle Seahawks team is not like any other teams that we knew beforehand. Like, do you remember going into this season when we were talking about, hey, Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll have never had a losing season in the NFL together. We were all expecting them to be better than many had them projected at. But right now we're kind of understanding why many projected them as a 8-win team or 7-win team, and they might not even get there. They are, what are they right now? They're 3-7 and struggling against Washington, like Stevie Mack is saying. I don't know who the officiating crew is for this game, to be honest with you, Tom Downey's burner account. What is up, Eric Griffin? Thank you for being here on the show. Stargazer says, we need to watch the screens to Kamara, and I agree with that. I do agree with that. But yeah, Seattle is struggling right now, and they were -1 in the betting world for tonight's game. And I kind of risked it. I went with it. I said, hey, maybe Seattle continues to struggle, but come on, this is Washington. And after that first half of football, I was reminded why the betting spread was a low 1 point. And maybe a lot of the money was on Seattle. So maybe they get us all. Maybe they get us all on this Monday night football game. I will see. Because I would imagine that a lot of the money was on the Seahawks. We better keep Gallup because Noah Brown and Cedric Wilson have shown they aren't going to step up. Interesting point from Joel Wilson. Listen, Michael Gallup will be tough to keep for the Cowboys in 2022. My confidence in Cedric Wilson as a number 3 wide receiver in an offense that features Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb is not shaken yet. My confidence in Wilson as a wide receiver 2, that's a different story. But I would still trust Wilson. I still give him the benefit of the doubt. He has come up big for Cowboys in big spots. I still give him the benefit of the doubt that he can be a good number 3 guy on an offense that features Lamb and Cooper. The thing is that we have asked Wilson and Noah Brown to be the number 2 and the number 3 guys for this offense. So I think that my confidence in Wilson, the number 3 guy, is still unshaken. But keeping Gallup would be big for the Cowboys on the offseason. Squid King says Hill is a better quarterback, so the boys need to not take them lightly. They are struggling, but with Hill, they are better. And they cannot take them lightly because we have talked about the Saints losing their last 4. The Cowboys have lost 3 of their last 4. So the Cowboys are really in a tough spot in which they cannot be as confident as they were at the beginning of November. December is here now, basically. The game will be in December, and there is no tomorrow. Not in the sense like, hey, the Cowboys defense is about to be over, because I don't believe that. I think that the panic level for the Cowboys should be low. I think that the Cowboys are still contenders in the NFC. But it is time to settle down. It really is time for the Cowboys. Now that they are getting guys back, it is time for them to settle down a little bit and find their rhythm on offense. I do think they will. And after watching the All-22 tape for the Raiders game, I got to tell you, my confidence, again, we talked about this last night, but my confidence on Dak Prescott is also unshaken. I know he missed the throw. And we know that Dak Prescott should not have missed that throw, but the other throws that he made throughout the game were so impressive. The one that I liked the most was the touchdown with Dalton Schultz. On the seam, perfect throw versus middle of the field, open coverage with 2 high safeties. That was the throw to make, and Dak Prescott placed it beautifully. So Dak Prescott is still the guy that we thought he was before the rough slump in which the Cowboys find themselves in. I do think this Cowboys offense bounces back big. And I do think that the best right tackle plays on Thursday night. Hopefully Terrence Hill is okay from the COVID-19, but I think that La'el Collins playing at right tackle is an upgrade for the Cowboys offense. And I honestly don't see how this is even a discussion, to be honest with you. I love what Terrence Hill has done for the Cowboys. But Collins is, in my opinion, it is quite obvious that he is the better right tackle, to be honest. Who would replace Brown, says Tom down his burner account. He has been playing pretty well most of the year. I think, are we talking about Anthony Brown, though? Oh, yeah, because Stargazer asked, thoughts on Anthony Brown, keep him at corner. I think the Cowboys are going to keep him at cornerback. And I do think that is the right call. I think that it is different than from week 1 because on week 1 when he was burnt versus the Bucs, we all talked about him being benched and what the Cowboys' options were at cornerback. But the Cowboys had no Kelvin Joseph back then, so that was not really a possibility for the Cowboys at that moment in time. So now it is different because the Cowboys do have Kelvin Joseph, and we know very little about him. But to be honest, I think that Anthony Brown play has been strong throughout most of the season. We had even forgotten about his issues, though. So I would expect the Cowboys to, keep Anthony Brown on the outside, and I think that would be the right call. Keep in mind that Brown's struggles were specifically when the flags were thrown. Other than that, we didn't really watch him get burnt versus the Raiders. But the flags were so unfortunate, and this is not to say that he is responsible for those flags, because I do believe they were flag-worthy plays. I don't like the refs calling, 28 penalties in a single game, but I'm not really complaining about them calling Anthony Brown on those plays. It was just an unfortunate situation. I think Anthony Brown will bounce back from it. I think he will figure out what went wrong, and I would expect him to bounce back strong for the Cowboys on defense. Maybe next year, says burner account, Joseph has missed a lot of time. I do agree with that. Anyways, guys, thank you for joining the show. I'm sorry for... Oh, JCNA is right. Losing Brent Urban sucked too. Nobody talks about him. Brent Urban was doing a good job for the Cowboys defense. I agree with that as a part of the rotation. Hopefully he gets back soon too. We have not heard a lot about Brent Urban. But then again, we had not heard a lot about Neville Gallimore, and now his practice window is open. So hopefully that is the case for Urban as well. Thank you guys for being with me on the show. I am sorry about the, technical problems that we had at the beginning of it. I am sorry about it. We will be better here in ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. Make sure you check out adcsports.com/Dallas. Thank you guys for your patience. Thank you guys for your support. Make sure you leave a like and share the show if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Tomorrow, we will talk about some things that we want the Cowboys to do versus the Saints, some matchups, and then on Wednesday, we will have a loaded show again because it is a Thursday game week. So we will talk on Wednesday about betting the Cowboys. We need to bounce back in betting the Cowboys. This is the week to bounce back. We nailed the blind recap part of Deshaun Jackson. I am sorry about that. I am sorry that is the one thing that we got right on the blind recap prediction from last week. We said that Deshaun Jackson was going to have a deep touchdown in the first quarter, but then we were wrong about that being the only score of the first half for the Raiders. So, I'm sorry that was a portion of the prediction that we nailed on the show. Hopefully, we nailed it in a better way on Wednesday night. But anyways, anyone could think as well. Great show, says Barrel Killer. Hey, I appreciate you guys. Jessica as well. God Bomber, everyone. Thank you guys. El Pipiti Pau asks, is Zeke expected to play? Was a full participant on practice. He has said that the Cowboys have not asked him to sit. We really don't know what the situation is. Hopefully, we will find out soon. Anyways, guys, I will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central. Thank you guys for being patient with that technical difficulty, and I will see you tomorrow night. Thank you, guys.